Hello, my viewers. Welcome back to the channel. And by the video title, you know what this video is about. Some fantasy football suggestions. So the sleeper players to draft in fantasy football. So I'm going to give you guys some suggestions of what to do. You can take it, the suggestions you want to, or you cannot. But just know one thing, the Arsenal is a fantasy football champion. Yes. This ring is on fake, of course, you know. I bought it from Amazon. Maybe one day I can get a real fantasy football championship ring, but this ring is a little fake. I think it started fading off too. I had this for a little while. You see, it's fading off, but it's okay. The representation is the only thing that matters about the championship. But I've been the owner of my fantasy football league when I first started it. I was in high school. That was I think I started in 11th grade, which was in 2018-ish, around that time. Yeah, I think it was 2018 was when I started it. So I've been fantasy football owner for about, what's that, like 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I guess that count as 6 years, but the season hasn't started yet. So I guess we can say we can just round it up to 6 years. So I've been the owner of the league for 6 years, and it's called the National Fantasy Football Association, the NFFA. Not like the Purge, but the NFFA, the National Fantasy Football Association. It's going to be very cool to see what happens this year in our league. I'm trying to do some updates, you know, probably every 6 weeks, and talk about what's going on in fantasy football. As you guys know, on this channel, we focus a lot on sports. Not too much on fantasy. Not a full fantasy sports channel, but you know, occasionally, you know, talk about the fantasy football. And I think it was on another channel. I did like a live like draft thing as well. I might do it on this channel. We'll have to see. I might do a video who I drafted and stuff. But these some guys and some players you guys should look out for. You know, in my league, we had, I think last year we had 12 people. But usually we have 14. We have between 12 to 14 people like that. We're trying to get more people, as much people as we can, but we at least have 12 all the time. And I won a championship, I believe that was in 2020. I think so, right? Was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was 2021. I won a championship. And in 2022, I went to the championship, but I fell short, so I went back to back. And then last year I missed the playoffs. The injuries to my receivers was just very terrible, very bad. I couldn't do anything about that. But I have the highest win percentage in my league. I have the most wins in my league, and I have the most playoff wins in my league. So you know, I go out there and play well. Of course, I think another team has a championship. I think the Vipers, Mississippi Vipers, have one. My team is called the Pittsburgh Arsenals. I have one. My boy Larry, my friend Larry, always talking trash. He's a Cowboy fan. Always talking trash. He been to the championships 3 times. He won one, which was the first one ever. He always talking about, I won the first one ever in your league and stuff. So he always be talking like that. So yeah, but he got one. And I think that might be, and Mr. J and Watch, my cousin, he got one. Get the one that just passed like that. So we had then we had another guy who got one too. So we had a different champion every time. It seemed like it. We have some guys who win multiple times, like me and Larry team. But I think Unspun Garrett won one, and then we had, I believe it was the second person. It was somebody who joined the league. They're not in the league anymore. Like they joined, they won one. So we had a different winner every time. So no one has ever won 2 ever. So I'm trying to be the first person in my league to win 2. I know I'm rambling a little bit. You guys want to get to the sleeper picks, and I'm about to get to it right now. But wish me luck for this year fantasy. So I think the first person that is notable on the list, of course, is Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is a sleeper pick, and you might be saying like, well, I had Tony Pollard last year. He had some, but people kind of sleeping on him a little bit. Okay, you know, they're like, Zeke Elliott is gone now. So Tony Pollard, he's already kind of was the starting running back last season. But Tony Pollard, every time he touched the ball, something special happened. Tony Pollard averaged 5.1 yards per carry, and he averaged 5.7 yards per touch. So he was basically averaging a first down every 2 touches, which is very good. And some people play in the league where they play in the catch, the one that you like, they count catches and stuff like that in points. But I don't play in that league. I play in the yard, you know, like just doing yards, touchdowns, and stuff like that. We don't do the per catch. And we do kick returns for touchdowns and punt return touchdowns, but we don't do like the yardage because that'd be just too much doing. But Tony Pollard is a guy you need to add on your team. I know the only thing that might be in the back of your mind is probably the health concerns, but I think you might be able to rely on Tony Pollard for a good amount of the year. And also, you probably can draft. You ain't got to draft him on super high up early. You probably can wait to maybe third round, fourth round to maybe seek Tony Pollard in a fantasy football draft, depending on how many people you have in your league too as well. But Tony Pollard is a nice addition to add. He's been racking things up. He's been playing amazing football for the Cowboys. No, the injury concerns because he's not really built to be a every down type of back. But when he touched the ball, he make things happen, as you can see from his yardage per touch and per carry as well. Another guy is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was suspended the entire season last year due to the gambling thing that happened. But he's back now, and he's on the Jaguars. And I feel like Calvin Ridley has opportunity to be something special, because remember in 2018 and 2020, when he was playing with the Falcons and stuff, he was sixth in touchdowns. Sixth in touchdowns, and that means a lot of fantasy points was accumulated. And then, he became just the number one guy. I think had the injuries up and down. And remember the suspension that happened, not even with the Jaguars. And the Jaguars did a pretty good job last year receiving. Christian Kirk was a good receiver last year, had his best year, over 1,000 yards, and had an amazing season. And then you have a guy like Zay Jones there as well. And Evan Ingram there as well too. Calvin Ridley being maybe the second option, maybe the third. It depends on how things go, how he looks when he come back. He might be a sleeper pick for you can get later in rounds, who might not be big help for you early, like maybe the early first 5 weeks. But I think later in the season when he get back in the groove, because taking a year off from playing is gonna affect you a little bit. It's gonna affect you, but once he get back in the groove, I feel like he's gonna be very dynamic and can help some people win some games in fantasy. Another person is James Conner. James Conner, when he's healthy, he is one of the best in fantasy football because he can go out there and score like crazy. He has 26 touchdowns in those 2 years so far with the Cardinals. He came here 2 years ago when the Steelers decided to let him go in free agency, and they drafted Najee Harris. James Conner came here 2 years ago. He came to the Cardinals 2 years. He didn't come here, but he came to the Cardinals 2 years ago, and he had 26 total touchdowns in those 2 years. Only person who has more is the man who's everybody trying to get in fantasy is Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler, if you have him on, if you like in a draft, and Austin Ekeler name pop up, you have an opportunity to get him. I don't care what round it is, you gotta get him. Austin Ekeler is one of the best players to have in fantasy football. 40 touchdowns over the past. Was it past 2 seasons? I think past 2 seasons. 40 touchdowns. That is absolutely insane. Insane right there. 40 touchdowns. Come on, man. If he's on your radar, if he's on there on the board, you gotta take Austin Ekeler. But James Conner is an amazing player when he's healthy. That's the only thing that kind of might concern you in fantasy, though I said a sleeper pick, because you might can get James Conner. You probably can get him later around because not a lot of people might not be jumping early to try to get him. But he's a sleeper pick because when he's healthy, he can be a very dynamic force in the red zone and a touchdown scoring machine. And, you need touchdowns. Touchdowns help you win in fantasy. Another guy, too, of course, is Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. He had 1,000 yards, had his best career year ever. Like that, his 6 years here in the NFL, that's his best season. He had over 1,000 yards, 17 rushing touchdowns, which led the NFL. And he was just amazing. He was just dynamic all over. And adding him to the New Orleans Saints was very good. Alvin Kamara is facing some suspension. I don't know exactly what the suspension is going to be, what it's going to look like, but it's not looking too good. So most likely the suspension is going to occur and happen. So if he's gone for the first, let's say, 5 or 6 games, Jamal Williams is to be a guy on your radar to add on, because he's not just a scrub or like something like slouch. He can go out there and be a very dynamic running back, dynamic piece, and go out there and score touchdowns in the red zone. And he also can catch a little bit at the backfield too. He should be a sleeper pick. I don't think he will go maybe early in the first 2 rounds, but 3rd, maybe 4th round like that, you can probably find a way to sneak and get him later down the line. Another thing too as well is Justin Fields. Justin Fields, another guy. I know he might not be a sleeper pick fully. I kind of got him like in a mixture. I had the little quotations around him, kind of a dark horse type guy. Because Justin Fields last year, early on in the year, you're like, he wasn't doing nothing. But later in the season, he's like going crazy. He had 50 point fantasy games multiple times and big time ones because his rushing ability was dynamic. And now him getting added DJ Moore to the roster. DJ Moore is a pretty good receiver who had multiple 1,000-yard seasons in his first few years with the Panthers. Adding him, fixing the O-line a little bit too, and getting Justin Fields some weapons on the field is going to make him just more dynamic than before. And you really might not have to draft him in the first round or second round. I think you can find Justin Fields maybe later rounds because a lot of people now looking at it like that way. So these are right here some guys, some key guys who may be some guys later down the line that can help you. Of course, there's other guys too, like Rashad Bateman, who I had last year, who got injured from the Ravens, but he was dynamic when he was on the field. He was playing good, and if he can stay healthy, he might be a sleeper pick as well. And of course, what is his Jahan Dotson from the Washington Commanders, another guy too as well. So there's some guys out there. You got like guys that go out there and look, but these some key guys I got right here. A few guys for you guys to maybe draft in your fantasy draft. You gotta go out there and look at like look at their roster and look at the surroundings and look at the targets too, like receivers and even running backs too, like the targets they get. Like they have like most of the now you have the metric system, like you can see like the percentages of the quarterbacks like targets, like who he's targeting the most and the players targeting the most. And like the more targets, the more chance, it means the more opportunity to make plays. It means you should draft them on your team because they have more chances to get down the field to make plays or to score touchdowns or do whatever they do. But these are some key guys. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys play fantasy and some guys you have on your radar too in fantasy. But I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Kiss the ring. Kiss the ring. Peace out.